And so EFT is like cutting the wires to the electric fence. It's
Hmm.
like, oh, I can go further. I can, it is okay for me to have this. Money is not the root of all evil. That's not even what the quote is, the original, actual translation of the original statement. And we have this greater freedom to experience success.
Welcome to the Cardinal Way for Men. My name is Ed Cardinal, and I am delighted to have Brad Yates joining me today. And just a quick background about not only him, but about the technique that he's been involved with for over 20 years, helping people live healthier, happier lives. Recently, one of the things that I do is I conduct and I facilitate virtual men's groups. And one of the men recently was talking about some childhood trauma, and I actually recommended tapping to him. I got exposed to tapping or the emotional freedom technique, I'm going to say maybe 12 years ago. So I've educated myself about it. I know about it. I know it's a great tool to use. And then I'm also a physical therapist. And recently I had a patient who was dealing with anxiety, and I recommended tapping to her. So I am looking forward to Brad, you explaining what the emotional freedom technique is, what tapping is, and also how it can help people. So welcome, Brad.
Thanks, Ed. I'm happy to be here.
How did you get involved in the emotional freedom technique or tapping?
Yeah. How does a grown man find himself tapping on his face for a living? uh, so I actually started out as an actor, and I traveled the world doing theater and went to Hollywood to be a movie star, as one does. And while I was there, I met a woman, fell in love, and got married. And when our first child was on the way, I thought I might need a backup career. So rather than get a steady paycheck kind of job, I trained to become a hypnotherapist because I'd always been fascinated by the power of the mind, and started building a small practice and was doing that alongside continuing my acting career. And then a couple of years later, when our second child was on the way, I realized that as much as I loved acting, personal development work was really my calling. It's like, this is what I'm here for.
Yeah.
And we left Los Angeles, and through some other hypnotherapists, I heard about this tapping stuff, this energy psychology. And I went to this conference and went to a training with Gary Craig, the founder of VFT, and just found it fascinating, especially because the thing that really sold me on it was he gave everybody a little piece of candy, a chocolate. And he said, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much would you like that chocolate? And I was a bit of a chocoholic at the time. And I'm like 8, 9. And we did some tapping on, oh, even though I really want this chocolate. And after just a couple of minutes, I had no interest in the chocolate. I could not eat it. He said, take a bite out of it. I could not. I had as much interest in the chocolate as I did the foil wrapper. And I didn't eat chocolate for 2 years after that.
Wow.
Now I
Neat.
recovered.
Yeah.
But in terms of just seeing how it could deal with cravings like that, and especially when we're talking about, recovery from any kind of addiction, when I say, after 2 years, I didn't eat chocolate for 2 years, and then I've gone back and every so often I have chocolate. I didn't have to stop chocolate. So it's not like, oh, well, tapping would only be beneficial to me in terms of recovery for 2 years. Like, no, as you and I were talking about before you hit record, there are multiple things that we do for our health and well-being.
Absolutely.
And having a commitment to, I'm never going to have this. If I had decided I should never have chocolate again, I could have continued doing tapping and doing other things to support that.
Yeah.
But that in that moment, that shift right there was like, wow, there's something to this. So after that conference, I started introducing it little by little into my hypnotherapy sessions, and then little by little they became primarily tapping sessions.
Wow. Yeah. And you've been at it for over 2 decades.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was back in 2000 that I learned this.
Helped a lot of people along the way, I'm sure.
I like to think so.
Yeah. Can you explain the science behind tapping? What is it?
Yeah. When tapping was first discovered in its current form by a psychologist named Dr. Roger Callahan, and Roger was Gary's mentor. Uh, Dr. Callahan was a traditional therapist and was working with a woman with a lifelong water phobia, and he was expanding his horizons, taking a course in acupressure. And so in acupressure for thousands of years in Chinese medicine, they've said there's a flow of energy through the body along these pathways that are called meridians. And when the energy is flowing naturally, we experience our natural state of health and well-being, physically and emotionally.
Right.
When this energy gets blocked or disrupted, we don't feel so good. We don't think as clearly. We don't make the best choices. And so that has all kinds of unfortunate consequences for us. In traditional Chinese medicine, the doctor would stick needles in these key points to, stimulate that healthy flow of energy.
Right.
And we're just tapping with our fingertips to do the same thing. So Dr. Callahan did it with this woman with a water phobia, just to try to calm down the stomach, the knot in her stomach that she was feeling when she was looking at water. And not only did it clear up the knot in her stomach, it cleared up the fear. And he started experimenting with different patients and found that he used different points for different emotional issues. And within a year, he put himself out of business because all of his patients were like, "Hey, I'm fine, doc, see ya." So he started teaching this technique. Gary came along, simplified it, called it emotional freedom techniques. And so the original premise was that we're just clearing these blockages in this energy flow. Now we have a growing body of scientific research showing that it sends a calming signal to the brain. And these points that we're tapping on, you can measure them with a galvanometer. These are points of lower electrical resistance, and so they are significant in the body's energy system. So, yeah, there are a number of theories of all the different ways that it might be working. Primarily, that it's sending this calming signal to the brain, so that when the amygdala, which is in our limbic brain, the limbic system, it looks for threats. It's the thing that's going, oh, this is dangerous to me. Saber-toothed tiger, neighboring tribe with spears. Someone looked at me cross-eyed. Because when this system was first developed 100, 200,000 years ago, it made sense because we
Yes.
needed to go into fight or flight.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But nowadays it gets stimulated by someone looking cross-eyed at us.
Yep.
Someone says something, we see something on social media,
Right.
fight or flight. And when that happens, the prefrontal cortex shuts down and we're not thinking clearly. So if we have habitual behavior about how we make ourselves feel better, like turning to alcohol or something like that, in a stressful situation, I've just got a flat tire on my car. Someone cut me off on the road. My boss has given me a bad review. My kids left the milk out of the refrigerator all day long. Whatever it might be, I get upset, and my clear thinking brain is gone. And I'm like, wow, I gotta feel better. I gotta feel better. And before I know it, I've already indulged in something that I know I shouldn't be doing.
Right.
So the tapping calms down the stress system and allows us to engage the parasympathetic nervous system that gets us back into our rational mind so that we can say, okay, what do I really want here? What are my real goals? And so we think more clearly and take better actions, and we live a whole lot better.
Mm. So you're talking about that stress response. So are there other challenges that people have that tapping would be good for? I mean, you talked about addiction. It's good with people struggling with addictions, anxiety. I know trauma. Those would be probably some great tools for people dealing with those.
Absolutely. The catchphrase in EFT is try it on everything. And not to make it sound like a panacea or a magic bullet, the key thing is that it's a scientifically validated tool for lowering stress. We have chemical studies done where cortisol, one of the main stress hormones, people doing the tapping in double-blind studies, their cortisol levels dropped by an average of 30 to 40%,
Wow.
which was so significant that the first time the test was run, the lab technicians threw out the results thinking something must have gone wrong because that couldn't have happened.
Yeah. Wow.
Recalibrated the machines, ran it again. It was like, oh, wow, it did
That's,
that.
that's
So we have fMRI studies where you can see the parts of the brain that are lighting up in different situations and how that normalizes. So we have a scientifically validated stress relief technique. When you consider that most, if not all of the things that trouble us, physically as well as emotionally, are either caused by or worsened by stress, then you can see that a simple stress relief technique can be beneficial in all these areas.
absolutely.
Anxiety, trauma, addiction, even in terms of sports improvement, in improving our financial situation, job performance, all of these things, because we have this resistance to situations, and that comes up as stress. And if we can calm that down, then we have this greater freedom to make better choices and do things differently in our lives.
Mhm. You bring up an interesting point about wealth. So by reducing stress, does it remove? I know you talked about removing blockages
Yeah,
through hitting those points. Does it remove thought blockages that we have from, let's say, about wealth from our childhood?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Because what happens, we have all this programming, all of these things that we've been taught
right.
about life in general. You know, someone once said when I was early in hypnotherapy school, and we we're talking about smoking as an addiction, and they said, you've basically people who are smokers basically they became smokers. They learned to smoke when they're 7 years old. By the time they're seven, they
Right.
may not have started until they're 14 or 15, but they've already had that program and have seen people around them smoking and the cool people and in the movies and whatever it is. So that idea of smoking is good, that programming is already in there from an early age. Same with alcohol and whatever our drug of choice might be.
Yeah.
Chocolate, definitely. We've from an early age, it's like,
Right.
oh, parties and birthdays and happiness and all that, it's all associated with chocolate. So if I'm stressed out and my prefrontal cortex is gone and I'm thinking I'm unhappy, I need to make myself happy right now, you know, there's all these parts of me going, well, chocolate. It's like Professor Lupin in Harry Potter. Here, eat some chocolate. It'll make you feel
Right.
better.
Right. Yeah.
We have that programming. So the same with wealth. We have a lot of programming around, money is the root of all evil.
Yes.
So consciously we say, I want more money, but our conscious mind is what, 5 to 10% of our mind. The other 90, 95% is money is the root of all evil. You don't want to be a bad person. So I'm going to say, I want more money, but I'm going to stop myself from taking those actions.
Right.
I'm not going to see the opportunities. I'm going to just forget to go to that job interview for that really great job. And it's like, I can't believe why, well, what happened to my alarm? Oh, well, I set the alarm for 10 p.m. instead of 10 a.m. And all these little things. And it's subtle little ways that we're protecting ourselves from the evil of money. And so what happens is we have this comfort zone. And it's like there's an electric fence around the comfort zone. And that's that shock, that's that stress response. And it happens in such a subtle way that we may not be aware of it. So we may be standing there going, wow, why didn't I go for that job interview?
Mhm.
Why did I spend money on this thing that I didn't need? And we're not consciously aware of it, but our unconscious mind is going, because I'm protecting you from the jealousy and the envy, and your parents would hate you if you made more money than they did, and all of this different stuff. Or your friends would all be asking you for a loan, and or have these expectations. So we have all of these reasons why we shouldn't have money. They talk about start with why, the question of why. It's like, why do you want more money? And I can think of all the answers why. It's like, yeah, but now ask why not,
Right.
because we don't look at that
Right.
um, with any kind of thing, with sobriety.
Yes.
Why not be healthy? And we often don't look at these these questions. And so at an unconscious level, they're directing us.
Yeah.
And so, and what that is, when we try to make a change, we try to have more money, be healthier, whatever it might be, we hit that electric fence and we back into our comfort zone of what's
Mm.
familiar. And so EFT is like cutting the wires to the electric fence. It's
Mm.
like, oh, I can go further. I can, it is okay for me to have this. Money is not the root of all evil. That's not even what the quote is, the original, actual translation of the original statement. And we have this greater freedom to experience success.
Yeah. It's almost like self-sabotage.
Self-sabotage is simply misguided self-love.
Right. That's a great way to
It's
put it.
it is protecting us. So, and we beat ourselves up.
Right.
Just to go back to drinking, we drink too much, and then the next day it's like, oh, I'm so stupid. I'm such an idiot. I can't believe I did that. And we want to be compassionate with ourselves because we can't shame ourselves into better health.
Right. Right.
Even if we're physically healthy or mentally, we're going to be unhealthy.
Right.
So we want to recognize, okay, that was self-sabotage, but as misguided self-love, what part of me said, I don't care what the consequences are. This is what I need to feel better right now, because staying sober in this moment with what's going on is not as rewarding as what's going to happen if I can just numb the pain.
Right. 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 Click the link in the description to receive your free ultimate guide for men over 45, unlocking the 10 secrets to a fulfilling life. Right. Yeah, that's a great point. Is there specific points for specific, like for anxiety, for trauma, or is it just a general sequence? Can you talk more about that, like the sequence?
Yeah, absolutely. So when Dr. Callahan first developed thought field therapy, he had different algorithms for different situations.
Yeah.
So there are basically 8 points that we use in this process, and there are different tapping protocols. Some people will use more points, and tap on a few different points, but all of these systems use major points along these meridian lines. So Dr. Callan would diagnose, he would talk to the person and figure out, okay, based on what you're talking about, I think you need to tap first this eyebrow point, and then the chin point, and then under the eye. And then for someone else, like, okay, I think you should tap the side of the eye, and then right under the eye, and then the chest. And one of his first students was this guy, Gary Craig, and Gary had his degree in engineering from Stanford. And so thinking like an engineer, he's like, okay, how do we simplify this process?
Right, right, right.
There's only 8 points we're tapping. If we just tap all of the points, and we may be tapping points that don't need to be covered, but we're covering all the bases and maybe
Right.
getting a few extra benefits, it takes less time to tap all the points than to try to figure out which points should be in which algorithm.
Right.
So that's so EFT is the simplified 8 points top to bottom.
Okay. How would you like to take us, give a demonstration of the
I
point?
would love to, Ed.
Okay,
So what I'm first going to do is I'm just going to lay out the process,
sure.
and so that folks know what it is, because then we're going to have some fun with it. Because
Okay,
when I'm doing the tapping, it's a very intuitive process for me, and I just like to explore different ideas about what might be going on for someone. But if I do that as a first introduction to folks, then it often feels like, wow, that's really complicated. EFT is difficult. You have to come up with all these words. Like, no, you don't. It's a very simple process. You can make it more complicated if you want to later. But for the time being, what you're going to do is you're going to take whatever issue is bothering you. So if it was just stress, it's like, okay, all I'm aware of is I'm feeling stressed out right now, and I would rate that on a scale of 0 to 10. So it's like, oh, it's a good 8. I feel like I'm really stressed. And if possible, I want to identify where it is in the body, because that's the key thing. And I know for anyone who's new to tapping, and just as I go like this, it's like, wait a minute, what is this weird process, and why? Trust me, it's because the things that's bothering us when we experience stress, it's in our body.
sure.
So to just talk about things, we're missing. missing so much.
Right.
So we want to notice where in my body am I feeling it. So the stress may be, well, I have a knot in my stomach, or I feel this tension in my shoulders. So great. I feel all the stress, tension in my shoulders. It's about an 8 out of 10. And so we're going to say this stress as our setup phrase. Now it would be whatever it might be. So it could be, even though I feel this craving for chocolate, even though I'm really angry at Bob, whatever that statement is, we're going to say, we're going to take the fingertips of our index and middle finger and gently tap on the side of your opposite hand. And we'd say, even though I feel this stress, I choose to love and accept myself. And we'll repeat that 3 times. So stress, or even though I'm angry at Bob, whatever it might be. Then we're going to go through these points. So right here at the beginning of your eyebrow, so right near the center of your face, and we'll gently tap each of these points, generally between 5 and 10 times. Don't keep count. It's not an exact science. So we'll say all this stress. Right here at the corner of the eye, all this stress. Right under the middle of your eye, all this stress. Right under your nose, all this stress. Right just below the lower lip, just above your chin, all this stress. Right here where the collarbones just about come together, you can feel a little bit of a U shape at the base of your throat. And just go ahead and make a fist and tap over that area right there. All this stress. About 4 inches below the armpit. I always say it's right about bra strap level. And I'm sure even the guys can figure out what that is. All this stress. And then finally, the top of the head. So with all your fingertips, just tapping around the crown of your head. All this stress. You take a deep breath. Let it go. And then you check in again and go, okay, if I was at an 8 out of 10 before, what do I feel like now? Sometimes it'll go from an 8 to a 0 like that. Sometimes it goes from an 8 to a 7.75. It's like, feel a little bit better. Not a lot. So I would then repeat it. I'd also pay attention because the process is often like peeling the layers of the onion. And as we're tapping through, we start to get more clarity. All the stress, all this. Oh, I know what I'm stressed out about. I've got this report due next week and I keep trying to ignore it. And I'm so worried about it. And so now we can get even more specific. This fear about this report, this fear about this report. And as I'm tapping through, I might get even more clear. This, oh, you know what it is that book report that I got an F on in the 3rd grade and I got grounded for a week. And I'm still scared about that. And this report is reminding about this. And not only now can I clear up the stress that I'm feeling in this moment, but I can clear up an issue that has been causing me a problem for decades that I haven't been consciously aware of. But there may have been all kinds of times in my life where I had an opportunity to make life better. And some part of me said, book report, don't go there. And I may have really narrowed what was possible for me. So I can start clearing out all kinds of things if that comes up. So that's the very basic version of EFT is we tap through these points, just repeating the same phrase. And yes, you can tap without saying any words, especially if you're stressed out, because saying the words is designed to keep us focused on what the issue is. Like if you spill something on your counter, you want to be focused on where the spill is rather than just going and cleaning the whole kitchen. In the process of doing that, you're still going to clean up where the spill is, but we want to stay as focused as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm in a moment where I'm feeling really stressed out, like I'm on the freeway and someone's cut me off and I pull over to the side of the road and I'm just like, oh my God, oh my God. I don't need to be going, even though I was almost, cut off. My body is already aware of what's going
Yeah.
on there. So I can tap silently. And there may be times you may just feel compelled to tap one point.
Right.
So don't worry about, okay, I have to tap through every point and I better not miss a point. It's not like your body's going to say, you missed a spot.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's no healing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's very simple in that way.
So once you learn it, you can do it on yourself.
Absolutely. That's what I love. That's one of the reasons I made it my main modality rather than hypnotherapy, was because I was giving people, literally putting it in their own hands.
Mm-hmm. Can you also besides teaching someone, let's say someone wants you to take them through it each time. Is that something that people do also, or
Absolutely.
yeah,
Sometimes it's easier to not have to come up with the words. It's
right,
like,
right.
and because folks don't often say, I don't know what to say, that's why I made the first tapping video. When YouTube came out, I was pretty new to EFT. I'd known it for a couple of years. And I thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool if there's a tapping video for people to start their day and just clear the blocks to having a great day? And I'll call it Tap of the Morning. And
I love it. I love.
that was all I intended to do was with that one video. It's like, I have a video on YouTube.
Yeah,
Yay.
yeah, yeah.
And like 6 months later, I thought, you know, I should have one to end the day, and I'll call it Tap of the Evening. And then I'm done. And then another idea came up, and another idea. Now I have like 1,200 videos
Wow.
so that folks don't have to think about it. And and it's also helpful to have someone guide us through, because coming back to the idea that self-sabotage is misguided self-love. So if part of me says that eating chocolate or drinking alcohol or whatever it might be is self-love, this is how I take care of myself, I'm not going to really give myself the tools about what to say to clear that.
Right.
My unconscious mind is going,
Yeah,
yeah, I know exactly what you could say to let go of this, but why would I want to do that? Because
exactly.
I don't want to give this up.
Exactly. Yes.
So that's why working with a coach can be so helpful, because a coach is not invested in you staying in your comfort zone,
A-
whereas
a-
your unconscious mind is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Great, great point. As I informed you when I invited you on the show, my mission is to help men recovering from alcoholism get healthier in all aspects of their life,
Yeah.
physically, emotionally, mentally. And this, I feel, would be a great tool for them to have in their toolbox. I do wellness coaching, but to be able to have them learn this, let's say from you, and then be able to incorporate it in their own life, I think would be phenomenal. Have you worked with men recovering from addiction?
I have. I taught at the Energy Psychology Conference in 2 different years. I taught a class on incorporating EFT with 12 steps. And for 3 years, I taught EFT for recovery at Sacramento Drug Court. So this was a mandated program for people coming out of prison or out of
Really?
jail for drug offenses, and they were mandated to go through this recovery program. And so one of that was this class in EFT. It's a very different audience for me when I
Yeah,
when I
yeah,
first got there.
yeah.
And these folks are looking at me, and they're some of these people have really tough lives.
Sure,
And I
absolutely.
walk in and say, "Okay, guys, get tap on our faces now." Like, excuse me? And it's like, well, this is just further punishment. You're out of jail, but now we're just further more of your debt to paying off your debt to society. I'm just going to make you look foolish. And some people had that attitude, but then, the folks who invested in it were like, wow, this crap works. It's like, yes, that's why I'm here. Because so much of that instinct to turn to alcohol or whatever your drug of choice might be is an attempt to tranquilize anxiety. I'm feeling bad. I need to take care of this. I can't just sit through this. I need something to relieve this. And the more stressed I am, bye bye prefrontal cortex. I'm not thinking about, recovery. I'm not thinking about you're going to go back to jail. You're going to lose your family. You're going to lose your job. You're going to, wake up on the floor in urine, whatever it might be. I'm not even thinking about that. I'm just thinking of I feel pain. I need medicine at that moment. And this is a simple tool for calming down that stress and going, okay, this is what I need. I just need to calm down. I just need to feel more peace. And it gives me some freedom. And I'm not making any claims of instantaneous, the
Yeah,
moment that you do this, although it can happen.
yeah.
It can downregulate that stress so quickly that it's like, oh, I really need a drink. I really need to. Oh, no, no, that's definitely not what I want. So, and as I was saying before, I I experienced the 12 steps when I went to Debtors Anonymous back when I was really bad. I was using my credit card, cash advance on a credit card as my paycheck. Oh, um, and using going through the 12 steps as well as using tapping to calm down stress was a huge benefit to me.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. I'm kind of curious, what else did they in that one specific program that you were involved in? What other sort of modalities were they incorporated in that for the men recovering from alcoholism? Do you remember?
They had acupuncture classes.
Awesome.
I think they may have had a yoga class. There were nutrition classes.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of I think someone taught Tai Chi. So a number of different mind body modalities for, hey, live healthier. Take care of your mind and body.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's I feel that recovery from addiction needs to be holistic. That your nutrition and hydration and sleep and breathing and then the mind body practices like yoga, and then you throw tapping in there, and I mean that's a no-brainer.
Tapping to me, it's ideally use it every day.
Yeah.
It's like brushing your teeth. So brushing your teeth, taking a shower is physical hygiene. Normally, we don't wait until people are holding their nose around us to say, "That's right, I'm taking a shower in a week," or "I haven't brushed my teeth in several days." We do it before we know that we need it.
Right.
And to me, with tapping, because we're always carrying around ambient levels of stress, especially because we're walking around with a cell phone that's constantly saying, "Here's something else to be upset about."
Yeah.
And if we're trying to stay in recovery, constantly being told, get stressed out is not beneficial to us. And that stuff builds up. That stress builds up, just like, the stench on your body or the filth on your teeth. And if you don't have a way of managing it, it will build up to the point where there's a real problem.
Right.
So, and you can tap first thing. This is what I do is I tap first thing in the morning. And it's not that with EFT, it's always, even though I have this bad thing, I choose to love and accept myself because I don't wake up in a bad mood. It's not like, even though it's another crappy day. So I'll say prayers. Like I often tap while saying the third step and the seventh step prayers. Love just tapping along with those. Um, and it's just a great way to start the day in a very clear place,
Mm.
clearing out that stress. And one of the things that's so key is learning to love ourselves and clearing the reasons why we couldn't or shouldn't. So we have all these reasons about, well, I'm just a piece of crap and all this. It's like, no, that's not the truth. And tapping is a great way of clearing that. Even though I feel like I'm a piece of crap, I choose to love and accept myself. And as we clear this away, we feel more loving towards ourselves. And when we do that, we are naturally compelled to eat better. We are naturally compelled to exercise because I love myself too much to not take care of myself.
Right. Right.
Why would I want to hurt myself? I want to do these things that help me feel better, do better, and live better.
Right. It's almost like, I mean, I start my morning with a breathing practice and meditation. And
Excellent.
basically meditation is focused attention. So when you're doing the tapping, it's like it's focused attention, it's like meditation. And then you add the prayer or intention in it. It's a great morning practice.
And it's so simple.
Yeah. And it doesn't take long.
Yeah, people ask me on YouTube all the time, how long should I do this? It's like at least a couple of minutes, but any tapping you do is beneficial. If you can do longer, it's like how long should you wash your hands? I mean, I know in COVID it was 20 seconds. Happy
Yes.
birthday.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But any if I've been planting something in my backyard and I have some soil on my hands, it might just take a moment or two to wash the dirt off. If I've been working on my car and I've got grease on my hands, it's going to take longer.
Yeah.
But anything that I do, any washing I do is going to get my hands cleaner. So, any tapping you do, even if it's just a couple of moments, it's like it's going to downregulate the stress a little bit. And you may not be consciously aware of it, but again, we have scientific studies showing that if I put you in an fMRI machine, or if I took a cheek swab and checked your cortisol levels, I could show you the tapping is down regulating that stress, even if you're not consciously aware of it.
It's your stress reduction inoculation.
Exactly.
It's a great preventative, and I'm gonna start incorporating it in my morning practice. I love it. And if someone wanted to learn more about you or check out your YouTube channel, how could they do that, Brad?
Yeah, thanks, Ed. The simplest way is go to my website, tapwithbrad.com, and then you'll find links to all the resources, the videos. You'll find links to the research, for those people who say, well, I don't know, it sounds crazy. Where's the research? Well, there's a lot of research uh, showing that how effective this can be.
Mhm.
There is a free 5-day program that you can get called Tap Into Your Best Self, which is about tapping into self-forgiveness and self-esteem and self-love. And for anybody in recovery, these are really key. So that's a free 5-day program. You can get at my
Awesome,
website.
awesome.
And just using this as an act of self-care. And yeah, as you said, it's an inoculation so
Yeah,
that things that well, it's like in the promises, things that used to upset us don't upset us the same
right,
way.
right.
And that's really it's the promises of EFT is things that used to give us a lot of trouble don't trouble us in that same way,
Right.
and
Yeah,
we just are able to live a healthier, happier life.
that's awesome. Yeah. I appreciate you, Brad. I appreciate that you've been helping people for so many years get healthier and live healthier and happier lives. It's a great mission, and I'm glad that I was able to have you share your mission with my audience, because I think it will help them also. So thanks again. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Ed. Thank you for the work that you're doing. I mean, it's just like the program says,
Yes. Yeah.
ask him in your morning meditation what you can do for each day for the man who is still sick.
Right.
And that's what we're doing. This 12
Abs-
step work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So thank you for what you're doing. Thanks for this opportunity to share this work.
Yeah. And I will drop your website address link in my description so people can access it there. So thanks
Thank you.
again, Brad. Appreciate it. If you enjoyed that video, check out my other video on the importance of having a morning routine.